Stories to Inspire. The Captain and the Sea Creature, written and narrated by Alan Denman. Chapter 1. Tranquility. This is how this story begins. It was spring and the sky was blue, a great crystal dome arching over a broad blue sea. The sun had just risen and was happily scattering beams of gold across the waves. A fresh breeze blew in from the sea, and the waves carried the golden beams towards a tranquil beach, which itself was golden and which curved in a perfect crescent around a bay. It was a spectacular day. It was a perfect day. The beach was deserted, except for a pale two-story house perched by the sea's edge. The house had once been picturesque, but was now old and tumble down. Beside it lay a wooden sailing boat keeled over on its side, faded and long unused. A man lived in this house. He was known simply as the Captain, and had lived here for, well, no one really knew how long he'd been living here, nor where he'd come from. He was tall, middle-aged, and always wore a captain's cap, an old naval jacket. His hair was dark and somewhat dishevelled. He rarely trimmed his beard. Nevertheless, he was not bad-looking. However, he did not welcome the company of others, man or woman. Living alone, he preferred silence to speech, his independence to social interaction. In fact, those who spoke to him found him to be gruff, bad-tempered, and curmudgeonly. His sea house was his fortress. He just wanted to be left alone. These facts alone are not particularly significant or interesting. There are many people who choose to live separate and secluded lives. But about the Captain there was something else. If he would allow you to get close enough, you might just glimpse in his deep, watchful eyes a certain sadness, an incomprehension, a longing, a sense of something irrevocably lost. So even on this day, with the sun shining and waves feathering the shore, with the orchestral strains of Mantovani floating from his old portable radio filling the morning air, the Captain was not entirely at ease. He was sat as usual in a rocking chair in his front garden, gazing out to sea. He wore his cap and jacket as usual. Two missing buttons replaced with a shell and a small disc of glass, polished by the sea. The old chair creaked in time with the music, and now and then the Captain hummed to himself. The garden. Now that was a remarkable sight. Over many years the Captain had constructed an elaborate maze of sea things, shells, ropes, lanterns, an anchor, driftwood, tarpaulin. And in the very centre of the maze he had placed a stone resembling a skull. Whoever dared to peer over the rough stone wall would be greeted by a skull with eyelets, sockets, and a grinning mouth staring back in mockery. In one corner of the garden, a tattered yellow flag fluttered at the top of a makeshift mast. It was not entirely true that the Captain lived alone. Whilst walking the beach one evening, he'd been joined by a scraggy mongrel who, for his own indecipherable reasons, decided that the Captain was to be his human companion. The dog was not a handsome creature. It was on the small side and had a coat like a bristle brush. No matter how much the Captain shouted and shook his fist, the dog kept following him. It had great spirit. Eventually the Captain gave up, and the dog came to snuffle and sleep around the house, and greeted the Captain every morning with fresh energy and delight. The Captain, in order to avoid all familiarity and attachment, simply called the dog Dog. Suddenly, from across the bay, a ship's horn sounded, the deep boom rolling over the waves. The Captain sprung to his feet and stood regimentally by the front door. He reached up and rang a tarnished ship's bell. "Safe voyage, my hearties," he murmured. Safe voyage, though there was no one else to hear him. No one else at all.